Hello, hello, hello. Apparently we are on the air now. Well and good. And greetings to Luke and Fox of Fate. Nice to see you in here. We're getting into the Maccas spirit, which I will probably have to explain several times to non-Australians, and possibly also to Australians who haven't heard the ridiculous story that is nevertheless quite funny. And that story is, of course, that a rumor was started that way back in the 90s, after a football game, possibly a grand final involving the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks, Scott Morrison shit his pants at the Engadine McDonald's. Yes. And yeah, hello, nobody and Miss Foxification. Doing well. It's Thursday night. Rocking and a rolling. You saw the story about the dude on the Melbourne train. He was a busker with the didgeridoo in a carry bag, and he was on the train or on the platform, and he's preparing himself to go busking, and he was doing breathing exercises, and the combination of him looking like he was psyching himself up for something and breathing in a slightly unusual manner, and the didge being carried in a long bag, someone's imagination led that to look like a rifle bag, and the station got closed down, and the cops came in, and they looked at what's happening. It's like, oh no, dude's just with the didge and whatnot. Yes, it just goes to show how twitchy people are. It was just an unusual set of circumstances, I guess, that the guy was acting in a way that some people found unusual. He's breathing. He's practicing circular breathing, which is how you play a didge. And so it was not normal breathing, I guess. And he looked like very fixated, like he was on a mission, because he was going to go and perform. And he had the unusual carry bag, the long carry bag that someone convinced themselves had a rifle in it. And they all freaked out. But it was all for nothing. So there you go. No, buddy, that is a positive philosophy, even if you're not feeling positive. You're not doing okay tonight, but that is life. And that's the thing. I think it is very important that we do acknowledge when we don't feel well. It's like the whole thing with, are you okay day? A lot of people don't like it because they think that if they answered honestly, like, no, I'm not okay, I'm having this problem, the people saying, are you okay, would freak out and not know what to do. And so I try to make a point of saying to people, if I ever ask you if you're okay, it's not only perfectly acceptable for you to say you're not, but I'd prefer you to honestly say, no, not great. Because I think that's part of, eventually getting better, is realizing, well, today, right now, this is not okay. I need help. Oh, okay, you're looking for professional help. Yes, I would be talking to a doctor, talk about a mental health plan. Sometimes you need a lot of help, sometimes just some help. But the fact that you're acknowledging you're not okay, you're not able to function properly, and you're going to get some professional help, those are all positives. Probably doesn't feel positive being in the midst of feeling really shit, but being conscious of it, being aware of it, and making the decision to do something about it, those are fucking excellent. That is a super positive step forward. It's not going to feel particularly positive today, but I think those are all positive aspects. And hi, Loogie, how are you doing? Morning in your part of the world. Luke, I'm in the CBD every day for work. But not Flagstaff Station. I don't go near Flagstaff Station. And the incident happened, I don't know, an hour or two after I got to work. So yeah. Yeah, CrossFitter, again, spot on. If things are not going well, get the appropriate support. I mean, I know I get work can stress me out sometimes, and I worry occasionally that it's my stress is possibly out of scale with what's happening in work, and I get concerned that, you know, it might lead to a full-scale anxiety attack. But I've learned a technique, as I've mentioned many times. Mrs. Angry is a counselor, psychologist, and there's this technique known as tapping or EFT, and I've done it on videos before, and it's useful for an incredible number of things. Certainly, if you're feeling anxious about stuff, weirdly, it can also help you with diet. It can help you get rid of what feels like an uncontrollable food craving. Can help you to eat something that's good for you that you don't like eating. Can bring you closer to liking eating it. But yeah, I've used it recently because I was feeling stressed at work, and you get one of those weird ass things where the amount of work I have to do is stressing me out, and I'm too stressed out to start doing the work. And so now I'm getting stressed because I can't even start, so I definitely can't finish. And I can sort of feel a negative spiral building up. And so I do the tapping thing, and it's just amazing the degree to which it helps. Luke, tuna. Well, tuna was one of the things I learned to like through tapping, because I really didn't like tin tuna. Hey, Catherine, how are you going? Okay, see, here's the thing, CrossFitter. Those are good reasons to feel like you need some help. If work's overwhelming you, there's family issues like your wife being unwell and being overwhelmed by work. Those are actually really solid reasons to be not okay and want to get some help. Justin, you're trying to get a new job, trying to get help with a recruiter. I am also, because I'm a contractor and I've been in a current one for 6 months and it's finishing. So I am also going back into the job market. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, no, I actually always go with recruiters because contract work, nobody hires contracts outside of recruitment agencies. So I go on like Seek and to a much lesser extent LinkedIn, and look for jobs, and it's always agency. So I have to contact the agency, convince them I'm good, and if that works, then they have to convince the client I'm good. Then I have to go see the client. You know, so it's a bit of a kerfuffle, quite honestly. Catherine, you're putting out the washing. It's okay. Put my washing off. Except it's going to be a really shitty weekend. I looked at the longer term weather report. I'm going to see if it still is. It is looking like a really shitty weekend. Hello, Bureau of Meteorology. What do you have to tell me? Oh, it's still shitty. Only temperature, it's going to rain on the weekend. High chance of showers. Thunderstorm. Local hail. Winds. Jesus, it's a shit weekend. And only a medium chance of showers on Sunday. But yeah, temperature's only mid-teens and it's going to be miserable, cold and windy. God damn. Now, buddy, how do I handle having to change jobs all the time? That is part of being a contractor. You don't work as a contractor if the stress of going through the job market is too much for you. That's the funny thing, like people go like on paper, they go, that's not fair, I'm a permanent, you're a contractor, you're getting literally twice as much as me. And go, well, at first glance, it may look like I'm getting twice as much as you. But then you take into account you have 4 weeks annual leave, which I don't, so take that out of the advantage you have. You have like a week or two of public holidays, which I don't. I don't get paid on public holidays, so take that out. You have a week's sick leave, which I don't. Take that out. And when you really allow for all those things, I'm only getting about a 25–30% premium, like quarter to a third more than a permanent would in my role. But that's the premium I get for being a contractor. And because a lot of people can't handle the stress of being a contractor and having to, you know, get new jobs usually at least once a year. Sometimes I've stayed in some roles for like 2 years, but usually I have to change jobs at least once a year. Contracts run for, on average, 6 to 12 months. Justin, I'm not interested in permanent roles at the moment. I like contracting because I feel more in control. Not least of the money. See, and that's because I have my own company that I contract through. So okay, when I bill, you know, the amount I bill per day, that all comes to me, actually including GST, because I have to pay GST. So that all comes to me. Then, because I have a company, I can make as many things as possible company expenses, and then I pay tax on what's left. Whereas if you're an employee, before you see your money, the government takes the tax out. Then you pay all the things you have to pay, and maybe you get a tax return at the end of the year. So I actually have much more control over my money than a permanent employee does. Ms. Foxification, you saying it's less common for IT roles to be permanent. Yeah, it's funny. Personally, I think the corporate world's reliance on contractors and consultants is really stupid. They've been sold what I believe is a complete lie by consultants and recruiters that you don't want to keep all these permanent staff on. You know, you're not really an IT company. You're a company that does bleh. So, you know, the IT part should be optional. You should just get them in as needed on contract. I think that's complete horseshit. And I think it would be to any company's major benefit if they invested in a bigger permanent in-house IT team and they stopped recruiting contractors and consultants. And when I'll say that in the workplace. And when people say, well, that's a weird thing to say, that's like saying you shouldn't have a job. And so, well, I can say it first because it's true and I think it's important to say it. And second, because management are a pack of fuckwits and they won't listen. Because with some accounting jiggery pokery, they make their bottom line look better, even though they're paying more, considerably more, for contractors than they would for permanent staff. But you know, the whole thing about capital expenditure versus operational expenditure, and it's just really accounting bullshit. That they convince themselves that on paper they're doing better, and they're not. It's fucking stupid. My honest opinion. There isn't a company out there that wouldn't benefit from investing more in a permanent IT staff than just always going the contractor consultant route. They won't do it because, I don't know, they're fucking idiots. And particularly the outsourcing, the offshoring. I mean, you know, I could gripe because the amount of offshoring that's done means my income hasn't gone up in 10 years because wages in my sector are kept artificially controlled by the amount of work that's offshored. But it's really inefficient and always ends up costing companies more, but they've been convinced by this absolute bullshit that they're actually doing better because their staff bill's lower. that what they pay to an external thing, that's capital expenditure. And, you know, that's good expenditure. Operational expenditure, like staff costs, that's bad expense. And it's just like, it is absolute bullshit. But people have been sold this bullshit pill and they've swallowed it down, and that's just the way it is. I don't know how long it's going to take to turn around, if it will ever turn around, but it's bloody ridiculous, quite honestly. Yes, Miss Foxification, that's the other thing that can drive down IT wages. Know nothing, just graduated boys who are convinced they know everything and they don't, they're fucking idiots. I agree, actually. I don't like those types at all. I'm Dr. Obama. I've worked in IT for about 20 years. So a long time. I've been a contractor for like 20 years. I learned on the job. I was working as a team leader in a customer service center, and I sort of changed jobs sideways and became a business analyst in the same business. And I learned on the job for about 2 years. And then I branched out into contracting. Interestingly, it's because they had a change. There are a couple of mid-level management roles in the call center, and they changed. And one of the people who ended up in one of these mid-level roles, he was a fuckwit, and he was really toxic. And he wasn't like, I didn't have to report to him. He wasn't my manager. He was in a different department, the department I used to work in. But I had friends still who worked in there, and he was making their life miserable, and he's fucking them around. And I did have to deal with him, and he was just like a mealy-mouthed git. And I just said to my boss one day, like, oh my God, if I have to keep dealing with that guy, I'm going to kick his fucking head in. And my boss just laughed, because everyone wanted to kick his head in because he was fucking horrible. And my boss laughed and said, if you actually hit him, I don't know that I could protect you, which is hilarious, because he's clearly saying hitting him is the right thing to do. And he'd make an effort to protect me if I hit him, but he didn't know if that would work. So I realized this guy, he was just driving me crazy, and I had to get out. And then I looked into contracting and found out how much more I could earn contracting. So away I went. Justin, turning it off and turning it on again jokes. I will never stop being disturbed at how often turning it off and turning it back on works. That's fucking ridiculous. But it works so often. So many systems, it's like, it's how you clear out the memory buffers. It's absolutely ridiculous how often that works. Switching something off and switching it back on, like with PCs, servers, a fucking Foxtel box. Sometimes when it goes off, the instruction is, okay, unplug it from the wall and wait for a minute. And it's just like, these things reset them. It's ridiculous that turning it off and turning it back on has such a high success rate. It's ridiculous. Dr. Obama, have I encountered a co-worker in IT who wasn't mentally capable of having it? No, look, not so much in IT. I tend to have more problems in the past with people, like project managers, definitely, and middle managers, people in management roles who are just not cut out for it. It's absolutely ridiculous. But oh God, there was a thing years ago where I was working as a contractor, and but I was like, it's what's really weird when you're in a particular work environment. There are often three tiers of people working there. There are the permanent employees, there are the contractors like me, and I am almost, although I'm contracted, I'm like contracted to the company, so I answer to the company. And then you'll often, almost always in fact, have consultants as well. And that's an entity, whether that be IBM or someone else, and they're like providing IT services, but they don't answer to the company. They're like their own little bubble on the side. And so as the contractor, I'm not with the consultants, I'm with the company. And we had this ridiculous project that was like, it was huge and it was going nowhere and it was clearly doomed to fail, but we were soldiering on. And this consultancy, who I think were running out of money, they clearly hired some graduates into roles, and they were out of their depth and not getting any support. And you know, basically it was up to what the consultants kept doing is saying, if we're gonna meet this deadline, you have to approve this specification we've put together. You have to put together, you have to approve this documentation we've done. And the documentation would be shit. And we say, well, we can't approve that, it's shit. And they'd go, but you have to approve it or we won't reach the deadline. And we went, no, you have to do it properly or we won't reach the deadline. It's pointless us approving something that's shit and won't work because of your idea of an artificial deadline, because we still won't reach the deadline of having something happen because your proposal is shit. And they wouldn't let up on it. So we pushed up to our management and said, look, this is what they're doing. This is what they're doing. They're saying we have to sign this stuff off because of the deadline, but it's garbage. We can't sign it off because it's garbage. And they need to stop basically threatening us. And so our management went to their management and said, stop this bullshit, okay? Stop saying people need to arbitrarily approve what you've done. They only approve it if it's right, okay? And they went, yeah, definitely. And so then I'm at this meeting, again, with these, they were the opposition PAs who were clearly just graduates and didn't know what the fuck they were doing because they weren't capable of saying anything intelligent. But they're saying like, oh yeah, you know, we've got this session and I think it's like 3 hours. We have to have this signed off by the end. And they said that right at the start. And we went, no, that's categorically not what's going to happen. You're going to present us what you've done and we'll evaluate it and see if it's right. If it isn't right, we're not signing it off. And they went, oh, but you have to. We got told you had to. And we said, no. Our manager went to your manager and said, stop that bullshit. And your manager agreed to. So if they've told you to come in and say that, they've lied to you. We're telling you point blank, that isn't how this is going to work. And they're going, oh. So they've clearly been told something like, you're going to get fired if this isn't signed at the end of this session. And it was just such a shit show. Hey, Petty Wallaby. Justin, no, IT companies don't intentionally hire people with autism. There was a story that got kicked around in the 90s, and there were elements where it was true, that there were some people who were autistic and they actually weren't very good with people. But there's talk about, you know, like these are the people who had, you know, the mathematics savant capabilities. They could actually run a program in their head by reading lines of code. Now, there were a couple of cases that were reported by reputable outlets, so let's just say they're true, that there were these isolated cases, and these people tended to be put in testing roles because they could look at code and they could go, it's broken there, that bit's not working, it's broken. And so then the programmers could look at that bit. But I think that story sort of, I don't know, got expanded or blown out of proportion, saying like, because of that story, it's clear that IT companies deliberately hire people with autism. Look, I personally think you get a lot more people who are on the spectrum in IT than you do in the general population. But if you can't talk to people at all, just like Miss Foxification saying, if you can't talk to people at all, you're going to have a hard time, basically. Shirasi, yes, the popcorn at One Nation. I mean, God, I thought I'd gone far enough when I made the video last night that they'd been outed chasing the NRA for money. Now they've shown another bit of video where they've got Pauline Hanson fucking going for every conspiracy theory under the sun. Oh yeah, Port Arthur massacre didn't happen. That was a government plot to take guns away. Well, 9/11, that's another one. It's like, oh my God. Oh, someone's musical elevator. New project manager. Do you have any KPIs? And you said no because you don't. And she said you did. And you said, well, okay, show them to me. You go, oh, I'll get that for you. Yeah, those sorts of discussions are awkward. When someone tries to pretend they've done something they should have done, but they haven't. And when you get asked, you just tell the truth. Like, no, that's not a thing. That's it, Dr. Obama. It was James Ashby that piped up and said, 9/11, that's another one. It's just like, these people are such fucking clowns. But also, as I said in my video last night, anyone who thinks this is going to change the minds of One Nation voters is fooling themselves, because One Nation voters are fucking idiots. And they're bad, garbage people. So you say, oh, that's a garbage thing, you shouldn't say that. You go, well, they are garbage people. Busy Wallaby, you like night shift so you don't have to talk to people. I can get things. I see, just all around the world, there are people on the fringes of politics who are very conspiracy-minded. But when they just came out and they're really flagrant, it's like, oh, Jesus, that's fucking spooky right there. Yeah, look, Foxface, I'm with you. The whole idea of people saying, oh, there's a global conspiracy, and it's like, Jesus, you've never worked in government, have you? Even the corporate world, the idea, oh, like, yeah, sure, you get those stupid, ridiculous Talkfest Davos and the one that Alex Jones is super paranoid about. And these rich people get together and go, oh, what should we change in the world? What would be better if it was different, you know? But I don't know, they're just trying to make themselves feel better. They're not actually running the world, because, I mean, this is what, working in IT, you know, I work in the corporate world, and you'll be in a company with the senior people who are in the same company who should want the same thing, and they can't agree on anything, and little personal infighting derails anything. And that's just within one company. And you think every company in the world's colluding? No, no, people aren't that fucking together. Dr. Obama, notice Scummo hasn't put One Nation last. He said, I think the Liberal Party should, but he's not pushing the Queensland branch to do it, because the Queensland branch don't want to do it. So Scummo is still being a spineless pile of shit. Big surprise. We've got about chemtrails. I bet, if not Hanson and Ashby being into chemtrails, no joking, no disparaging, I bet One Nation is full, like One Nation voters. There's a huge amount of people who believe fucking chemtrail conspiracies. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, who was it who said that? Oh yeah, nobody talking about the 9/11 docos actually sounding compelling. See, it's propaganda. There are tried and true ways of presenting things in such a way that it seems conclusive. And yeah, you can watch some of those 9/11 conspiracy videos and they sound like they're making sense. But it's just because they are being incredibly selective with what they say. Sometimes they're outright lying and they know they're lying. But all they present to you are the lies that support what they want to say. They leave out literally everything that contradicts them. And there's overwhelmingly conclusive evidence that all of those 9/11 conspiracies are utter horseshit. Absolute horseshit. Not a grain of truth in them. But like I said, it's just classic propaganda. I mean, what I always think of is a very old episode of The Simpsons where he goes to the candy show and gets all the candy, including the gummy Venus de Milo, which gets stuck on the babysitter's butt, and he grabs it and she thinks he's grabbing her butt, and so he's accused of being a sexual harasser, and there's this whole campaign to make him look bad, and the media doctor everything to make him look bad, and he's finally exonerated because groundskeeper Willie has a habit of videoing couples in cars, and he has video that proves Homer's innocence. And so it's like, oh, Homer's saved. And then right at the end of the show that says, oh, you know, we were wrong about Homer, this video showed it. But then they go, they've like got the shits at Willie. And then they go, what about this immigrant and his disgusting habits? And they just show this slow motion, high contrast video of Willie with dramatic music and don, don, don. And Homer goes, oh my God, he's terrible. And Marge says, what are you saying that? He freed you. He goes, but the music. It's like, that's how easily manipulated we are. I was going to say other people. It's not other people. It's all of us. And that's the thing. People who think they aren't subject to manipulation are frequently the easiest to manipulate. It's like people who say they can't be conned, because particularly when it's because I'm too smart. There are very simple techniques to pander to people's concept of how smart they are. And that is how a lot of these conspiracies work, because it's like, okay, if you get into our conspiracy, everyone in the world will tell you you're a fucking idiot. But they're only saying that because they're blind. They're sheep. They're not as smart as you. They can't see the truth. And the conspiracies pander to people's vanity and saying, you believe this because you're smart enough. You are smart enough to get this. And all the naysayers, they're just blinkered. They can't think. They're not capable of thinking. They're the sheeple. And it's absolute basic propaganda and manipulation. Humans foxation, cognitive dissonance. There are repeated studies that show, and people are into, and when people are into really stupid conspiracies, like stuff for which there is overwhelming evidence, the moon landings, flat earth, and you go, blah, 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 that proves beyond a doubt it happened. And what has been shown, no matter how compelling the evidence is that you show them, if you show them in a frame of you're wrong and here's why you're wrong, the majority of people, rather than taking the new evidence on, will just dig their heels in harder. Then they see you as part of the conspiracy. The only reason you're telling them these lies that contradict their worldview is you're part of the conspiracy. It's like, God. I like that pity wallaby. They're so stupid you have to add a Y. So they're stupid. Shirazi, you are correct that an enormous number of people in the flat earth discussions are trolls. They are just shit stirring. And I think half's a reasonable guess. And yeah, Luke, the Australia is fake one. Clearly, nobody believes that. That was a joke. And then some idiots in the media repeated it as if someone actually believes it. Nobody believes that. That was a joke that spun out of a flat earth thing. Nobody believes Australia's fake. It was an obvious troll, and some tools in the media repeated it verbatim that, oh, they're so crazy. No one believes that. Yeah, no, the flat earthers, definitely half the people in those forums are trolls. It's just so weird. But the other half aren't. The other half believe it. And if you ever want to do your head in, you search the QAnon conspiracy. It's deranged. It's just mind-blowing to see what the QAnon people do. They're an offshoot. If you remember the Pizzagate conspiracy, the people who made this conspiracy up don't believe it. They're just trying to whip up hysteria, and it worked. They said there was a pizza place in Washington, D.C. where the Democrats were going, and it was actually like a child sex abuse ring, and there was a basement under there where they kept children locked in cages and they tortured them and killed them. The building doesn't even have a basement. Someone showed up there with a fucking gun threatening people. I'm here to liberate the children. And like, that shit's dangerous. But QAnon is basically for people who think Pizzagate was too mainstream. It's absolutely mind-blowing, the level of delusion going on there. Now, again, like the flat earthers, the Pizzagate thing and the QAnon thing is full of trolls. It's full of people who don't believe it, but they think it's funny to whip it up. They just keep saying more and more extreme things. And there's always someone who go, yeah, that's real, that's real. So, and that's where it becomes very difficult, because you can say, oh no, there aren't real flat earth believers, they're trolls. You know, well, no, there are trolls in there, but there are also true believers. So it's like the white supremacists with the OK symbol. They went, oh, like it was a 4chan trolls, like, oh, let's start a rumor that the OK symbol is actually a white supremacist recognition symbol, and it's how white supremacists identify themselves to each other. And then when the media picks it up and says, oh, it's a white supremacist symbol, look how bad they are, then we'll laugh at them and say, oh, you fell for it. Except what happened? The actual white supremacists, all the Trump acolytes, and they fucking are white supremacists, they started doing it. The fucking Christchurch terrorist did it in his court arraignment. And it's like, it isn't actually a joke when actual white supremacists do it. They sit there going, oh, we're trolling. No, you are actually white supremacists doing it. You can say all you want, oh, it's not unfortunate, it's troll. Yeah, but then actual white supremacists do it. Now, they do it all the time. They pose for photos doing it, and it's their little thing like, we're part of this fucking alt-right, neo-Nazi, white supremacist, fascist bullshit, and this is how we identify each other. It's ridiculous. Hello, readers. And Haruhi, did I see the PewDiePie pipeline video? I don't really I don't watch anything to do with PewDiePie. What is the PewDiePie pipeline video? There are so many things about PewDiePie. And see, oh, sorry, Nancy. Come here, silly cat. Come here. Come up here. Come up here. There we are. Come and say hello to your fans. Again, Hurry, that's meaningless to me. It's by non-compete. I don't know what that means. Can't keep up with everything on the internet. But PewDiePie is one of those guys who he doesn't see himself as a fucking white supremacist Nazi, but he makes quote unquote jokes that involve normalizing the language of the extreme right and Nazis, and the actual Nazis and extreme right love that he's doing this as jokes. When he starts doing it, they're generally jokes. He thinks it's an awful thing to be anti-Semitic. So if you joke about an awful thing, it's doubly funny because it's taboo. Every fucking teenager in the world does that. I did that as a teenager. He's not a teenager. He should grow the fuck up. But anyway, so he starts off, they are jokes to him, but he's incredibly influential. An enormous amount of his audience is completely lacking in sophistication and takes what he says at face value, and the actual Nazis and right-wingers and white supremacists, they love that he's making jokes about it, because when they do it, then they've got this cover. It's just jokes. Subscribe to PewDiePie. And then he cops an enormous amount of hate for the things he says and does, which he largely deserves. But who tells him he's okay? The fucking right-wingers. The fucking Nazis and white supremacists say, oh, they're just awful SJWs. You're cool, man. They're the ones who are wrong. You're right. And you end up with this feedback cycle where it gets to the point where it isn't irony. This happens so often. Someone who does this edgelord shit and says it's all jokes, it ceases being a joke at a certain point. Oh, so apparently I don't even know who non-compete is. But this is not, what I'm saying is not rocket science. What I'm saying is not rocket science. So I'm not surprised other people are saying it. I literally don't even know who non-compete is, but I'm not surprised other people are saying it, because it's really straightforward. Look, even in, I guess, a much more benign way, there's been repeated studies that show if someone does something for show and they keep doing it, they end up believing it. Like someone who's not religious marries someone who is religious, and their new spouse wants them to go to church or mosque or synagogue, and they go, sure, to keep you happy, I'll go along. And they go in and they mouth the words, they sing the songs, they say the prayers, and they're just doing it, and they're just doing it. There have been repeated studies that show after a certain point, they do it sincerely. It becomes who they are. And that's why, like I said, every teenager in the fucking world has done bad taste jokes. Like, what were the jokes when I was a kid, even preteens, like dead baby jokes. And anytime there was a major disaster or a major loss of life, it was like there was a rush to be the first one to tell a bad taste joke about it. That's as if you don't care. As it's people who have the emotional age of teenagers do that. So that's actual teenagers, which is completely understandable, and sad fucks who don't grow emotionally past teenage years. But who the heck is this? I'm going to answer this. This might be important. Hello, this is Andrew. Oh, hey. Good. I'm actually with someone. Can I call you tomorrow? Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Ken. Bye. That was my accountant. I must owe some tax. But that's okay. That just would have been a really boring conversation, which is why I said I'd call him back. Yeah, Luke, Dingo's eating your baby. It's like, I have to admit, that was the one bit in Tropic Thunder where I was just laughing hysterically. Robert Downey playing an Australian method actor who's gone the whole blackface, except it's not makeup blackface. He's actually had he's so method, he's had his skin pigmentation changed. But when the actual black guy who's in the cast loses it at him and says, no, this shit you're doing is racist. What's this Chicken George voice doing? Do I talk like that? No, I don't. Why are you talking like that? And then he starts saying, the two lines he says something bad about Steve Irwin, and and Robert Downey goes, hey, you take that back. The man's a national treasure. And then he goes, oh, you better go. I think a dingo's got your baby. And he goes, hey, that was a real thing that happened to that lady. At that point, the Australian getting upset at the American being disrespectful to Steve Irwin and then disrespectful about a dingo took my baby. I was in hysterics the first time I saw that. I just thought that was so funny. Hey, Megaleech, how's it going? Ms. Fox, I think Icelandic humour is very dark. Well, Iceland is the sort of place with its old Viking heritage that I imagine it would get very dark humour. Are you saying One Nation's getting eviscerated by the libs? I don't know. Scummo's being very fucking soft about it. Just that's the thing. A lot of like horror movies they're aimed at teen boys who just want to see gross shit. Absolutely right. And I agree. Look, crass memes regularly make me laugh. There's no two ways about it. Dr. Bum, the story, by the name of the story, there's this weird rumor that started in Australia. It first got floated last year, but never caught on. But in the last week or two, I don't know, it's caught fire. And it's that our current Prime Minister, back in the 90s, after a big football game, shit his pants at a McDonald's, the Engadine McDonald's to be precise. And personally, I think it's hilarious because it's so stupid. Like it's just stupid. But Australians being Australians and Scummo being as unpopular as he is, I think this is just going to steamroll in the lead up. The election's only a month and a half away, and oh my God. So I just think the next month, look, maybe it'll die. You know how some jokes and memes flare up and then die almost as quickly? But I suspect this one is gonna pick up. But someone's like a reasonably well-known DJ apparently started it last year, just with a tweet goes on. For those who don't know, the 1990 something Scummo shit his pants at the Engadine McDonald's, Engadine Maccas, and and then no one really picked it up. But then someone, and then the last week or so, it's just caught on like wildfire, like months after it was first mentioned. But now everyone's talking about Scummo shitting his pants at Engadine Maccas. It's so Australian. It is so Australian. But yeah. Oh, Justin, their budget is going to be budget in name only because they're going to lose power. They're going to get fucking creamed at the election. Luke, have I worked out a drinking game for the election results? Like I said, I'm going to have to be careful because I will be in almost definitely be in a really celebratory mood. But if look, nothing's for sure. If the 100-to-1 shot happens and the LNP don't lose, they retain government, I'll be drowning my sorrows because I really won't be happy, because I deeply and sincerely think that would be a horrible and crippling blow to Australia. Just think, I mean, like the original thing, I can't like do a shot every time they lose a seat, because, you know, conservatively, they're going to lose 10 seats. They're probably going, my bet is 20. They're probably going to lose 20 seats. And, you know, the more extreme predictions have them losing 30 or 40 seats. Dr. Obama, you thought people thought Labor would win in 2001. My memory fails me. Who was late? Was that when Latham was Labor leader? Yeah, I desperately hope Dutton loses his seat. I will definitely take a drink when Dutton loses his seat. He's fucking garbage. He's close to the worst. Yeah, yeah, John Howard was a bit tired, but if Latham had won that election, it wouldn't have been most. And the mood, like, what is happening? Like, they're up to 7 or 8 ministers quitting. Rats leaving a sinking ship. The stuff that's happening is it was unpredictable. No, 2001 was Kim Beazley. 2001 was Kim Beazley. Oh, and John Howard scooted in 82 seats to 65. Improved his majority. I have to really stretch my brain. I was probably hopeful that Beazley would beat John Howard. I would not be being honest if I said, no, Latham was 2004 and Howard did even better, picked up 5 more seats in 2004. So, you know, Howard's on the rise, sure that he's unbeatable, goes back on his own deal. Like, he made a deal with his treasurer Costello that he'd hand over power, but he was so sure of his godlike powers and he thought Costello wasn't popular enough to win that he backed out of his own deal, and then he ended up losing his own seat. So Kevin Rudd actually picked up 23 seats. So that was a huge sweep in after good old little Johnny had, you know, he went into the election with an 87 to 60 majority. And after the election, it was almost reversed. Labor had an 83 to 65 majority. So there was that. So yeah, little Johnny Howard was obviously in the ascendant in 2001 and 2004. Oh, you reckon Abbott's pissed off at Hanson? I thought he was still cheerleading her. Justin, you're saying Beazley's governor of Western Australia? I didn't know that. Ha! Well, see, Dr. Obama, that's what John Howard thought. Howard thought there wasn't enough support for Costello, and he may well have been right. But by going back on his own word, he went from being basically the most successful Liberal Party leader he could have gone out on a high note and kept his word. Instead, the end of his reign was an absolutely inglorious defeat, losing his own seat. Almost never happens, a sitting prime minister losing their own seat. And it's all because he didn't keep his word. He fucking deserves it. Haru, it was, I think Abbott was in the government when Hanson went to prison, but it was, I think John Howard was very keen on Hanson going to priz. I finished my lemonade. I might make a cocktail because I didn't on Monday night because it felt weird drinking on a Monday night. I don't know why. It's very arbitrary. I was thinking today I wanted to invent a Brexit cocktail. I want to have a theme cocktail. But I didn't know what to do. Like, I don't want to make it a bad drink. Obviously, Brexit is a disaster. I don't want my drink to be a disaster. I want to enjoy the drink. But I mean, what have I got? You know, obviously, England, it could have gin in it. That's a very English beverage to have in there. I've got some Irish whiskey because Ireland is being a central thing in the negotiation. So I could put some Irish whiskey in with the gin. I don't know what else. We clearly need some bitters in there. Yeah, I don't quite know what to do. Justin, who'd want to be UK PM? Not Theresa May, apparently, because she's out. I don't have any Scotch, Catherine. I immediately thought of Scotch for Scotland, and I don't have any Scotch. I have rye whiskey from America, and I have Irish whiskey. I do not have any Scotch whiskey. Hurry, the broken promise, the GST. Oh, God, I don't even remember with the GST. But no, his broken promise was to his own treasurer. Dr. Obama, do I think Australia dodged a bullet with Latham becoming PM? Latham's clearly unbalanced. Like, you look, go back to his election campaign, that weird-ass handshake he did with John Howard, and he did one or two other things in the campaign that were absolutely inexplicable, that had people going, fuck is wrong with him? What is that? He's a piece of shit. He is absolute garbage. He's filth, actually. He is absolute filth. So yeah, I think not that we were winning with John Howard as PM, entrenching racism in the Australian political landscape, but yeah, no, Latham is fucking garbage. Justin, work choices should have killed Howard. Work choices is fucking evil. That's right, Dr. Obama. There's instantly beat up a taxi driver. But yeah, no, we definitely dodged a bullet. There's something wrong. There's something deeply wrong with Mark Latham. He's just super wrong. Oh, Shirazi, Theresa May's not out yet, but she has apparently agreed to resign if the other Tories support her Brexit plan, which is super weird. Like, that was the thing. The Parliament voted against every possible Brexit plan, including no Brexit. It's a fucking train wreck. It is absolutely bizarre. What the fuck? They voted against all the possible variations of Brexit and voted against not doing Brexit. Like, it clearly, it can't go ahead. They need a general election. They need to go to an election with a very clear statement of, I'm campaigning for this Brexit option, and the other party saying, I'm campaigning on this Brexit option. They have to do that, because apparently they're refusing to just have another referendum. It's just bizarre. It's absolutely surreal. Catherine, you want us to have the same PM1 election to the next? Look, I think Labor have learned that because it's reasonably common for an opposition leader to step down if they lose an election. And he narrowly lost the election against Turnbull. And they didn't off him because he put in such a strong showing. I think they've decided, yeah, no, we have to just be rock solid behind the leader. All our fights have to be in secret, not in public. We have worked out the country hates that shit. I was absolutely stunned at the behaviour of the Liberal Party. I thought Turnbull's move to off Abbott before the election was remarkable. I really didn't expect it. I thought because I think Abbott was going to lose a federal election really badly. I think Abbott was really fucked and he was going to lose the election. Turnbull was right that the party's only chance was to replace him. But I still didn't think he'd do it. I thought he would wait till after a disastrous election and then they'd be in opposition. And then he'd step back in as opposition leader and be confident he could bring them up in another election. I was really surprised he offed Abbott. And then, of course, he squeaked in with a 1-seat majority in that election. But I was absolutely stunned when Dutton and his dickhead supporters moved against Turnbull. Like, I know they hated him, but he was absolutely categorical. The Australian public hated that shit and wanted it to stop. And they've destroyed themselves electorally by doing that. It's wild that they're that stupid. Yeah, it was just the lack of understanding the public mood absolutely stunned me. All right, so I can't come up with I could put some Fernet Branca in there. That's a nice European thing that's quite bitter. Dr. Obama, I will believe Trump visiting Australia when it happens, because when it gets made clear to him there's going to be really fucking rowdy protests, he hates being reminded how much people hate him. Rui, I think you're mixing up bishops. The helicopter ride was Bronwyn Bishop, and I think this foxification was referring to Julie Bishop, who was the closest thing to a popular member the government had. But now she's one of the ones who's dipping out this election because fuck those guys, basically. Oh my God, okay. I have decided I don't have any scotch, but I'm going to put some gin, some Irish whiskey, because the Irish question is a very big stumbling block of the Brexit negotiations. And I'm going to put some Fernet Branca in for a bit of European bitterness, because that is a bitter liqueur. And I was going to say I might put some lemon juice in as well, because I like lemon juice in a cocktail, and a bit of agave syrup. Okay, I have a plan. I need to get components. So, I think I'm almost done. Mimsy, you keep them amused. You talk to the people. Talk to the people. Is this? What the hoot in the heck is this? I thought that might be the case. And that, and that. All right. Shit, I shouldn't have done that. Shut that door a bit, huh? Okay, so I got my shaker and my tiki mug. Right, I need some ice. Okay. Ooh, got some Hennessy, mate. That's French. That's European as well. Maybe I should put some cognac in. So we go cognac, gin. There's the Irish whiskey. There's the Fernet Branca for the bitterness. And the Irish whiskies around here. Not going to be full shots of all these, but I'm going to put all these in. Ugh, get this all sorted out. Bitters probably don't need bitters because I've got Fernet Branca actually. Lemon juice. Where's my agave syrup gone? There. Okay. This ought to be interesting. I'm just making this combination up. Oh, okay. Oh, still talking about the helicopter ride to Geelong. Yes. Okay. Oh, we're talking about Palmer United Party. I don't think Palmer is going to do very well in the next election. I think everyone's sick of him. All right, so I'm going to put some agave syrup. This will be interesting. I'll put a bit of booze in it and it's going to fuck you up. Some French for Europe. French cognac. Because I'm a sophisticated motherfucker. Cognac. I wonder how it'll taste too, Catherine. Oh, I haven't worked full time in Geelong, but I've had to go to Geelong for work a couple of times. So if I got a UAP, no. I think where I am, it's going to be Liberal Labor, maybe an independent. But where I am is a seat that Labor have never won, but the most recent polling has suggested they could win, and the Liberals are losing their shit at their safe seats being under threat. Much like the Victorian state election, where they lost seats they never thought, yeah. I see Fox of Fate. I normally go brandy instead of cognac, definitely. But I was booze shopping and I went, hey, I'm fucking rich. I'm going to get some cognac. Well, I'm employed anyway, so I decided I could afford cognac, see if it's any better. Harry, you had the greens in Corio. I don't know what's going to happen for the greens this section. Where's my lemon juice? I was going to put some lemon juice in this too. God knows what this is going to taste like. All right. Okay. The Brexit. I don't think Mimsy likes that noise. I want to get a big block of ice for my mug. I like having a big block of ice in my tiki mug. There's my big blocks of ice. It's all okay, Mimsy, don't you panic. Giant block of ice. Put that in there. All right. Put that back in there. Okay. Yeah, you're right. The Greens might pick up an inner Melbourne seat or two. Who knows? They've been doing a good job of shooting themselves in the foot, though. All right. Well, it's a nice colour. It is a nice colour. It's a very rich, orangey brown colour. Kind of looks less good on the camera. That seems like, well, it smells good. She's interested in what I'm doing, isn't she? You're going to lick your bum in front of people again. Okay. Wow, that's actually pretty good. I'm relieved. I was worried because I was just making that up as I went along. The Brexit. Gin to represent England, Irish whiskey to represent Ireland, and French cognac and French cognac for Europe, and Fernet Branca, a bitter Italian liqueur to reflect the bitterness of the whole thing. That's not bad at all, actually. I'm quite okay with that. See, Shirazi, I made a Brexit drink that didn't suck. I'm not going to torture myself. Although, much like Brexit, it was an experiment. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I'm happy with how it turned out. Look, Shirazi, I couldn't do worse than the UK government. Obviously, I was flying by the seat of my pants, and I came up a winner, as far as I'm concerned, but I still need to be careful because I put a fair amount of alcohol in that, and I'm going to get too messed up. Like, what strength is cognac? 40. Okay. 40%. 40% gin. That's normal for gin. What's the Jamisons? 40. So they're all 40. And Fernet Branca. I don't know what percent Fernet, but 39. Ah, all right. So those are all 40% alcohol, and well, not quite a shot of each of them, but I definitely let's put it this way. After drinking this, I definitely wouldn't drive a car. That would be unwise. This question, that's the thing I've wondered too. Do the police still have radar detector detectors? Because they did in the early days, because everyone had radar detector detectors. And so they had detectors to detect the detectors. And it's an offense to have one. But because they became less common, I don't know if cops would still have one. And I think it would also depend what type of control you had on it. Like if you had something where you could easily switch off the radar detector, because yeah, if it's part of a dash cam, as you're saying, if it was part of a dash cam, they could say, you've got a radar detector, and it's just a dash cam, man. That's all it is. And they would have a hard time proving otherwise. Dr. Obama, I should do the election special live from McDonald's, from the Engadine Maccas. I like that, Harry's floor breaker, a euphemism for crossing floor. I took floor breaker, which, as you said, as a euphemism for falling over so hard you break the floor. But yeah, I don't think, but for God's sake, don't base your life decisions on me saying this, but I don't think cops would have radar detector detectors. Plus, the thing is, if you've got a radar detector in your car and it goes, first thing, slow down. If you're speeding, don't speed anyway, but don't switch it off. If your radar detector goes off, switch it off, and then just drive under the speed limit for 5 minutes and then switch it back on. So yeah, again, you'd be a fool if you based your life decisions on things I said, but I honestly don't think the cops can get you for a radar detector these days, if you were smart about it. And Mrs. Angry really loves watching those highway patrol shows. There's one that's shot in Melbourne, and it's hilarious. There are a lot of people who are not smart. Toronto Maple Leafing, good evening to you. That's 6:15 a.m. You should have one of these, mate. Start your day. 9:15 p.m. This is a Brexit cocktail. It's got gin to represent it's got gin to represent England, Irish whiskey to represent the difficult Irish question, soft border or hard border, French cognac to represent Europe, and a bitter Italian liqueur called Fernet Branca to recognize the bitterness of the whole things. Plus some agave syrup and lemon juice to balance out the flavors. And it's actually quite good. I was worried it was not going to be good. I was worried that much like Brexit, it was going to be not good. But like Brexit, I didn't know what I was doing. Unlike Brexit, I had a good result. So yeah. Justin, I haven't watched a Doomsday Prepper show in a while, but I have seen them, yeah. See, Petty Wallaby, you can trust me on some things. Petty Wallaby came out to Australia for a big meetup I was doing and met Dave, who she was later to marry. And that's like, YouTube love. You gotta love that. And last time you were in Australia, I got to meet your parents, who came out with you and Dave, which was nice. That's a nice bit of trivia, Luke. The last town to encrypt police radio communication was Ballarat. There you go. Does that mean you can't use scanners anymore? So people used to amuse themselves. There used to be websites where you could listen to police radio scanners from the US. Now I want to look it up. I'm going to look it up. Can I find a website that has police radio scanners? There's an iTunes app. Yeah, there are websites that do it. Although here you go. There's an Australian one saying you can't listen to Australians because they're encrypted digital ones. Well, if I get bored, I might look that up another time. I pity will be your workplace is going to test the fire alarm. Okay, that sucks. Okay, Toronto Maple Leaf, you listen to the EMS. Dr. Obama, Bob Hawke's becoming frail. I'm amazed Bob Hawke is still alive. He must be fucking ancient. Plus all these years of alcohol abuse. How old is Bob Hawke? Bob Hawke. Bob hairstyles. Sorry, that made me laugh. Okay, born in 1929. So he's fucking 90. He's 90 this year. Christ, of course he's got to be frail. I'm amazed he's still alive, quite honestly. Does that sound heartless? I don't know. I think from the looks of the websites I saw, there are things saying that they scan American. I'm probably going to look it up. Let's see if I can get American radio scanners. Yeah, Shrasty, maybe that's the whole thing. Hawkey's pickled now. He's preserved. That's why he's lived so long. Seriously, to live to 90 with like from the 70s, probably 60s, 70s, and into the 80s, he was a severe alcohol abuser. There was an hilarious, because although he was a trade unionist and became Labour leader, became Prime Minister. He was from the right wing of the trade unions, which a lot of people don't realise that's a thing. You know, they're not right wing like conservative political parties, but unions have like a radical left and a centre and a right wing group. And Hawkey was from the right wing of the union movement and from the right wing of Labour. And it was hilarious. There were some declassified CIA reports on Australian politicians. What they said about Hawkey is Hawkey was a dyed-in-the-wool supporter of America. He was. They were like, oh, you know, Hawkey's good because he's so pro-America, but they had a question mark next to him because of his level of alcohol intake they thought made him unreliable. But of course, when he went to be Prime Minister, he said he stopped drinking altogether. Although he takes a tipple these days. He's been seen having a glass of wine publicly several times. Haruhi, yes, Melbourne is a great city. It's interesting. And it was really nice weather today. It was high 20s. I went out at lunchtime. I often go out just for a little bit to get a bit of air because I like having a microwave thing at work for lunch. And I just need to get some air, and I stepped out. It was so nice. I actually took a much longer walk than I intended. Went along, crossed the Yarra, walked along South Bank, like where the casino and all the shops are on South Bank, and then back around past Flinders Street Station. It's a very nice walk. Still, okay, I have had a stopover in Japan when I was going to the States. So technically I've been to Japan. I stayed there one night, but I just like from the airport to the hotel and then back to the airport the next day. So there's like a Japan stamp in my passport, but both my kids are real Japan files. They both speak Japanese quite well. My daughter's actually doing linguistics at uni, whereas my son is doing computer game design, but he's also studying Japanese while he's there, and they're doing extracurricular Japanese classes as well. So I want to go to Japan and use them as my tour guides. AngryAussie, the Labour Party are centre. They're centrists. There are some lefties in the Labour Party, but the party and its policies are very centrist. Yeah. Around the world, the politically liberal and liberalism is regarded as being centre to left, but for reasons that are too complicated to go into, the Australian Liberal Party is our major conservative party. And the Labor Party is the progressive party, sort of grew out of the union movement. They're very much a centrist party, and Bill Shorten came out of the union movement, but he's like Hawkey. He's not radical. He's, you know, centrist to right wing from a union perspective. But yeah. Exactly. What I mean, honestly, our Conservative Party is, apart from how they present on social issues, probably closer to the US Democrats than the Republicans. Because the Republicans are just fucking crazy. The Republicans gone off the deep end in the last couple of decades. It's ridiculous. That's a big question, Dr. Obama. Will Albo be PM? He wants to be, I reckon. Look, if Shorten wins the upcoming election, I think that means he would be PM for a while. Then Labor will eventually lose power. Liberals again. I reckon Albo would be very lucky to be PM in less than 10 years. Because Albo was a left wing. He was from the left wing of Labour. Keating, who was from the right wing of the Labour Party and who was famous for his insults. Keating in his heyday, Albo was a freshman in the parliament when Keating was in his heyday. And I remember Keating called Albo an unreconstructed Stalinist, which stuck with me because I always wondered, well, what's a reconstructed Stalinist? That's why I've always remembered that line, because he called Albo an unreconstructed Stalinist. So I wondered what a reconstructed Stalinist was. But yeah, Albo would be lucky if he's PM inside of 10 years, maybe even 20. 20 years is probably too long, but yeah. Oh God, Justin, Penny Wong. We've had this conversation a few times. Penny Wong is probably my favourite Australian politician, but I wouldn't wish it upon her to be the leader of the party, because we saw the sort of vitriol that was unloaded on Julia Gillard solely because she was a woman. So if you want to take that and then consider what people would do with a lesbian of Asian descent, it would just be awful. I don't think Penny Wong or her family need that. But yeah, I think she's my favorite Australian politician, because when she goes someone, she goes them. Look, I think you're right. It's overwhelmingly likely Labor will win the upcoming election and Shorten will be PM. Like about 90% likely. It's always dangerous to count your chickens before they hatch. And I think Shorten is super nervous about being too confident, which is why he refuses to say anything controversial, because he doesn't want the Libs to have anything to attack him on. It's possible the Libs could retain government. I mean, they're a minority government now. It's possible, but really, really unlikely. And it is unwise to count your chickens before they're hatched. But yeah, it's about 90% likely Labor will not just win, but have a really big win, reminiscent of Kevin Rudd's win against John Howard. Justin, there's a gay 37-year-old running for the US. Who's that? What's their name? And under what banner are they running? Well, the whole Nazi thing with being the National Socialist was a scam, because they hijacked what was called the Workers' Party, and the Workers' Party, they had the pretense of being, we're for the workers. Let's take the power away from the elites, and it was just a scam for authoritarians like Hitler to be populist. So they were using all the "we're for the workers" things, all the stuff that sounded socialist, but they were, fascists. Luke, it would be a big milestone to have a gay leader. There are some countries in the world that have gay leaders. But yeah, the whole name of the Nazis, the National Socialist Party and the Workers' Party, was a scam by fucking right-wing fascists to basically commandeer populist language to seize power. Shrazi, you raise a good point. We have probably already had gay PMs. UK's probably had, or at least people who have, let's say, I think it's a safe bet. There have been male PMs in both Australia and England who have tasted dick. I would put money on that. I would put money on there having been an Australian male Prime Minister and a British male Prime Minister who have tasted dick. That's how I will put it. Oh yeah, the heretic. Hitler wasn't a socialist. Like I said, him and his thugs commandeered the populist language of, you know, the Workers' Party and the National Socialist Party when they were just fascists. They were just using popular terms to get support from the people. We're talking about that guy Pete Buttigieg. I have heard of him. He may well be rising in the polls. He'll disappear. America is far too conservative, and the Democrats are far too risk averse to have a gay candidate. He will disappear. Steve Crowder, he's a fucking fascist. I was surprised, like, of all those various talking heads and agitators, and whether they're in politics or media or YouTube. And you often get people here saying, yeah, they should be banned entry to Australia, like Tommy Robinson got denied entry and Milo fuckhead. But the one who came out last year, I was a little bit surprised, was because I didn't know that much about them, but there was this pair who came out, it was Lauren Southern and Stefan Molyneux, and I just thought they were standard assholes. When I got at it, they're like super fucking racist. And I looked into them, and they're straight up white supremacists. And I actually didn't know that until I came here and saw reports of their little speeches and how fucking racist they were. And then looked up a bit more about them, and they're straight up white supremacists. Dr. Obama, what's my stance on Ben Shapiro? He's a lying, two-faced, bad faith arguing little shit weasel. He's a fucking scumbag. He's a liar, a coward, argues in bad faith, and he's a fucking piece of shit. And that isn't just the Brexit cocktail talking. I'm really surprised I drank that in half an hour. I thought it'd take longer. Justin, I for one, I kind of agree with you there that the idea of a black candidate seemed super outrageous. Dr. Obama, you want Ben Shapiro to get destroyed on Q&A. But the thing is, Ben Shapiro is just a liar. He argues in bad faith. You see, those weird fuckers, especially the ones who got popular on YouTube, where they talk about, oh, facts don't care about your feelings and logic over emotions. And none of the shit they say has any basis in logic, science, history, society, and culture. Like, they say stuff that simply isn't true. And it's absolutely mind-blowing that they just promote these lies. Like, Shapiro's notorious for saying, oh, my opponents get so personal and attacking on me. And I'm always sorry, because he says stuff in a reasonable tone of voice, but he says vicious, nasty, hateful, spiteful things, but in a level tone of voice. So I'm not being, yeah, you are, you're a little cunt. You're a lying little shit weasel. You're a worthless fucking piece of shit. I think you're saying Shapiro is gay and Jewish. I see, that's how little I know. Is he gay? I had no idea. Yeah. Shapiro is just typical of that crowd. Argues in bad faith, straight up lies about his position, and just baits people. He talks about debate. It isn't debate. It's just that's what I thought. Dr. Bummer, I thought he was married. But he's a piece of shit is what he is. He's a liar and a coward and whatnot. Okay, now I feel compelled to look it up. Not that I find it particularly important. A Google search. Now, Shapiro is on record as describing homosexuality as a sin. And he's married. Okay. I see. That's the other weird thing that happens in American politics. Jewish people teaming up with anti-Semites. Like, because the hard right in America is seriously anti-Semitic and traffics in just the most ridiculous anti-Jewish conspiracies and whatnot. But they say, I support the state of Israel. And we talked about this in the last live stream. There's this weird apparent contradiction with right-wing, blatantly anti-Semitic evangelical Christians being ardent supporters of Israel, but that's only because their reading of the book of Revelations requires the state of Israel to exist, because that's where the Antichrist is going to rise, and that's how the end of days will come about, and they will get their wonderful ascension into heaven. So you get this absolutely surreal situation where extremely anti-Semitic evangelical Christians are ardent supporters of the state of Israel because it's part of their apocalyptic religion. It's absolutely wild, absolutely surreal. And of course, the other thing that they side with Israel is because their number one hate is Muslims. And so they side with Israel because the Muslim countries don't like Israel. It's so fucking... And you get the hard right in Israel lapping this shit up, taking support from people who they know hate them, who, you know, think they're God killers, but because they just want support. And so you get super weird instances like bloody Netanyahu recently basically defending Hitler, saying Hitler didn't actually want to eradicate the Jews. He just wanted them out of Germany. It's just like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Okay, whatever. Yeah, well, it's meaningless one way or the other. Shapiro is on record as saying homosexuality is evil. But he's a lying sack of shit. I don't care what cultural group he is, what ethnic group he is, what gender he is, what sexuality he is. He's a fucking lying sack of shit. I certainly do. Oh God, have the Queensland Labor Party finally spoken out against One Nation? That fucking Queensland is, oh Jesus, politics there is so shit. And look, I would not argue with anyone who highlighted a bunch of shit Queensland Labor did and said, I can't support Queensland Labor because they did this shit, that shit, and that. Queensland Labor has done some ridiculous and terrible shit. If they're finally saying, okay, we're definitely going to campaign against One Nation and preference and lasting, well, it's too fucking late, but at least they're doing it. Oh, yeah, let's not even get started on the fucking what the state of Israel and the Israeli military does to Palestinians. Oh my God, I saw a story. They bombed a fucking school and killed 15 kids. Like, what in the actual fuck? Oh, your own preference is just, hey kids, let's do something fun. There's like 360 people on the Senate ticket. There's some ridiculous number of people on the Senate ticket for the federal election. You could have an enormous amount of fun just deciding who you hate most and deliberately numbering them last. Oh my God, the Senate is just getting so stupid. It's just like the Senate voting paper is ridiculous. All right, so we're getting a bunch of people who really don't like what the Israeli military doing to the Palestinians, and rightly so. Oh, I love that take, Dr. Obama, and I would like some more explanation. You reckon Bill Shorten will end up like former President Jimmy Carter? In what way? I'm very intrigued. I love that take. I want to know where it's going. Yeah, Linda, yeah, at least they are finally doing it. But yeah, and look, I'm with you. If you've said you couldn't vote for them in the past because of things they'd done, I completely agree. Like supporting Adani, not speaking out strongly enough against One Nation. You could cite a whole bunch of shit dodgy as hell that Queensland Labor Party have done. And I would not back answer you for a second because they have definitely done stupid shit. Jesus, that's a wild one, Miss Foxification. Israeli army, you say they strapped Palestinian children to vehicles so Hamas wouldn't shoot at them. Hamas seem to have really fallen out of favor with Palestinians too, which is interesting. Like there's all sorts of bullshit when the Americans said, oh, you've got to have a proper democratic election in Palestine, or we won't recognize. Okay, proper democratic election that Hamas won. Okay, we don't like democracy when it delivers someone we don't like. American foreign policy is so shit. The consistent support of brutal right-wing dictators just because they're right-wing, opposing popular left-wing or more recently Muslim governments just because they're left-wing or Islamic is fucking ridiculous. The apparent inability of people who drive US foreign policy to actually look at foreign leaders on their merits and say that's a good or okay or acceptable person. That's a bad person. They don't measure them on what the person actually does. They measure on, well, that person declared this allegiance. They declared this stance. So we're going to support or attack them because of what they declare their allegiance to. And it's caused so many fucking problems over the years. It's absolutely ridiculous. But yeah. They're just a bunch of Khalifa. You'd rather have cops walk alongside you in a gay pride parade than right-wing Jews carrying flags of Israel. I'm very concerned about right-wing political activists generally, and there's a lot of cops who are in that. But yeah, America paid the Taliban to fight the Soviets. America created Osama bin Laden. America supported a bunch of South American right-wing dictators that not only killed huge amounts of their own population, ended up being a massive thorn in the USSR. It's ridiculous. Oh, okay, that's your reason. I love Dr. Bob. You've got a really dumb reason. Shortens like Carter because they kind of look similar. But second reason, you reckon Carter wasn't actually that popular with the public and Shorten's not actually that popular with the public, but get elected because of what party they represent. Man, I like your take. I have no idea how it'll end up working out. See, this thing, I like takes. I like what we call it on the internet, hot takes. I like it when someone says, okay, I've looked at stuff and here's my hot take. Like I love listening to the Blind Boy podcast, and his hot take in this week's podcast, which he took ages to get around to, but I can summarize as Charles Manson was directly responsible for Nirvana, as Kurt Cobain Nirvana in the 90s. That's the thing, Harry. Sometimes people go with unpopular opinions, hot takes. Sometimes people use it really negatively. Some people use it a bit tongue-in-cheek. Like Blind Boy, he always talks about doing hot takes, and he's being a bit tongue-in-cheek. He's going, look, okay, I've just looked at a few markers, a few pieces of evidence, a few things that have happened, and I'm going to draw a really, really big conclusion from it. And yeah, his hot take this week was quite spectacular in that it can be summarized as Charles Manson was pretty much responsible for Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. And he justified it. It was great. Because again, he loves his history. He loves history and he loves music. He has whole things. He had a whole podcast where he talked about drum machines and drum machines that were invented in Japan and how they evolved and how they ended up being integral to hip hop. It's just great the way he takes it, and because he likes cocktails, and so he's had a couple of podcasts that were just about cocktails, but particularly he talked about rum, because it's a popular cocktail component, particularly tiki cocktails, and he talked about how it came out of the sugar trade and the slavery and the sugar trade. Come up here, and I'll pat you. Come on, you silly thing. She is such a silly cat. Was that Fox of Fate? Should check out the Man Yells at News podcast. Well, let me find it, because I'm always, all the podcasts I've looked for, the only one I really like is the Blind Boy one. That American sort of lefty American version of Socialist one, Chapo Trap House, they can be amusing. I'm not completely into that, but they can be amusing. I'm going to look it up. Man Yells. No, I spelled that wrong. Man Yells at News. There it is. Larry Yellingham. All right, I'll try and remember that one. I might listen to it tomorrow. Man Yells at News, because that's kind of what I do. Yeah, hooray! Hot takes can be great. Oh, you know it too, Linda. Okay. Oh, that's right. When I make videos, I'm usually fairly unfiltered, and I just really go for it. So I do like people that state a strong opinion. I don't have a lot of time for people who pander. And this is my hot take, my potentially unpopular opinion. People, commentators, but this, okay, I'm going to, particularly for people online, like on YouTube, podcast world, that type of thing, people who say they're impartial, that they talk about both sides, that they don't take a stand, they're fucking spineless gits, and they are pandering to the hard right. If you don't take a stand and say the alt-right, the fucking white supremacists, the identitarians, the outright Nazis and fascists, if you don't call them out for the pieces of shit they are, you're pandering just to get views. And I've got basically no fucking time for it. So whenever I hear someone talking about like, ooh, I don't take a side, I present both sides, I'm open-minded, like, fuck you. You're scared to take a fucking stand, and you are pandering to the worst fucking people on the planet. If you won't call people out who are pieces of shit, then you're validating pieces of shit. I have no time for that whatsoever. Fuck that noise. Why do I always look like a waiter? The heretic. These are my work clothes. Some people get changed when they come home from work. I can't be bothered. And I'm always wearing a white shirt because Mrs. Angry likes white shirts. And I like Mrs. Angry to like what I'm wearing. So I wear white shirts. So that's why I always look. It's a fair question. But yes. Yeah, I think, Larry, the Nazis come up with a whole bunch of words to hide their Nazism. But yeah. Oh, Dr. Brahma, I've seen that happen heaps. People who were part of the skeptic community who stood up and said, you know what, the alt-right, these white supremacists are fucking garbage. And then they get super ostracized because they took a stand. It's like, well, fuck that. You've either got integrity or you don't. And anyone, I knew who you, okay, Linda Murphy, I knew who you were and I let you go, but you're stupid, you're boring, you're a fuckwit, you're a troll, and you're gone, okay? You're a piece of shit and you're gone. Jesus Christ. Why some people think they're going to get away with this stupid bullshit. Well, Ms. Fox, see, the world we live in now, you do actually get some of the racists, some of the white supremacists who don't shy away from it at all. They aren't even slightly shy about saying white people are better than everyone else. You get the lying prevaricators like Stefan Molyneux and Lauren Southern who claim they're not racist when they're obvious, blatant white supremacists, but they're too gutless and they pussyfoot around. But you do occasionally get the ones who don't even shy away from it. And like the ones who are open in their praise of Hitler. You get the weird fuckers like Richard Spencer who are on video and have written stuff openly praising Hitler and using Nazi terminology. And then when you put them on the spot and say, you fucking Nazi, they go, no, I'm not. Like, for fuck's sake, you openly praised Hitler. You use blatantly Nazi terminology. And what the fuck? You know, why am I supposed to listen when you say, oh, I'm not? Like, fuck that noise. Yeah. Fury, so much for the tolerant left. My favorite one is a webcomic someone did of like fucking dragging these Nazis to the guillotine, and their last words are, well, so much for the tolerant left, and then the guillotine blade goes shook. On this occasion, that person was actually to your face. Weirdly, I have had that too. I've had people be blatant racists to my face, and it's like, wow. And I guess it's because I'm a white guy. They thought it was okay and I'd be on their side. But no, don't go up there, Mimsy. Do not go up there. You are not to go up on the counter. That's bad. That's bad. Don't do that. No, get down, stay over here, silly cat. Yeah, Richard Spencer, he says stuff about wanting an ethno state, but you know he's done the Zig Heil salute, he's done the Heil Trump at their rallies. He shamelessly uses explicit Nazi language, and it's just like, fuck that noise. Oh, Dr. Bum, you got put off by the right-wing skeptics' take on climate. Well, that's the weird. They're all full of conspiracies. And look, to an extent, I get it. When people talk about climate change, it is about reining in. To solve climate change, you have to rein in capitalism. And there's all this hippie shit. And, you know, I'm not surprised people are sick of hippie shit, okay? But when it's like, no, we've got to get green, you've got to get beautiful and love the earth and whatnot, it's going like, I'm not going to have hippies dictate my life to me. But you've got to move past the hippies and look at the actual science and go, this is irrefutable. This is so much evidence supporting this. And I get that it sounds like this really annoying hippie shit that you've had to put up with for decades, but it's not hippie shit, it's science. But I can empathize a little. People, oh, fucking hippies telling me what. I don't want hippies telling me what to do either, quite honestly. Although, here's the danger in generalization. There's no generalization that's universally true, of course. Even with people you really hate, like, okay, so I'm Gen X, so I fucking hate baby boomers, right? My whole life has been made miserable by baby boomers, so fuck baby boomers, right? And I've had to put up with annoying hippies for most of my life, so I don't really like hippies. So, you know, the worst combination is a fucking hippie baby boomer, right? Fucking hate hippie baby boomers. But one of the best friends I've made online, she's the loveliest person. She's this absolutely wonderful woman, and she's a hippie baby boomer, and she gets really upset when I lose my shit going, fucking hippie baby boomers, I hate them so much. And she reminds me, I'm a hippie baby boomer. And I'm going, okay, you have highlighted to me why generalizations are bad, because you are the one, okay? I'm pretty sure every other hippie baby boomer can fuck right off, but you're a wonderful person, and I upset you when I say shit about hippie baby boomers, because you are literally a hippie baby boomer. So it is a very weird experience, because that feels safe. That feels safe saying hippie baby boomers, they're shit, aren't they? Everyone hates hippie baby boomers. But yeah, this one person is one of the best friends I've made online. She's an absolutely lovely person. And she gets really upset when I talk shit about hippie baby boomers, because she's a hippie baby boomer. And I was like, oh God, you're fucking cramping my style there, but it's a good point. When you, no matter what the generalization is, you're going to be slamming someone who doesn't deserve it. Project Redfoot, that was literally in my head as well. Hippie baby boomers, hippie baby boomer, rubber baby buggy bumpers. That was, yeah, no, that was in my head too. Yeah. Yeah, I see the Heretic, we're the same fucking vintage. In the anarchist hardcore punk 80s, post-punk new wave stuff. Yeah. No, we appear to be the same vintage, but yeah, fucking free love hippie shit. Oh, Dr. Rama, I think I know that one, Computing Forever. I think they're one of the many who've made attack videos on me, actually. But yes. I think I've come into knowing of their existence because they're one of the many right-wingers who've done attack videos on me. But anyway, hey, look, 10 o'clock. I have to go to work tomorrow. So I am going to retire for the evening. So I will thank you, wonderful people, for spending time with me. as usual, it has been a very enjoyable time spending some time with you. I hope to do it again soon. I will say next week, as this week, I will be doing a live. I won't be doing a live stream on Tuesday because of a physio appointment, so I might do it on Monday, but I definitely won't do it on Tuesday. So look out for me on Monday. I thought Monday went well this week, so I'm doing it again this week. Yeah, I've got a physio appointment right in the middle of when I'd normally do the stream, so I can't do it on Tuesday night. So we'll see if I can do it on Monday night, and we'll see if I can get if I can do a TFU Friday this week, because I didn't last week. I actually had a plan, a whole bunch of things I was going to do. I just didn't do it. So because I'm going to go out on Saturday night, so I'll try and do it on Friday night, Saturday morning. We'll see how I go. But yes, I hope you all take care of yourselves. I hope to see you again soon, but I will say bye for now.